let's dive into Tool's album Aenima. This comes out in 1996, and I'm
Yep.
excited to talk about this one because this is in my list of favorite albums of all time. So I know this one inside and out. I love this one. I actually love almost all their albums, so I could talk about any of them.
Yes.
And you talked about David Bottrell being one of your favorite producers. He ended up producing Stain's Chapter 5 album, and he produced and mixed this album. So again, you get to work with all your favorite producers from the albums that you listened to when you were coming up. What makes Tool's Aenima album, what makes it so great? Why is this on your list? Because they have a few albums that could be up there as all-time greats.
Sure. The uniqueness of it, sonically, of course, it's amazing. The way the parts are structured in the song, and the way they build their parts into these sections, which I like to call the Tool machine, because that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like almost like a machine. But it's really all them playing. It's just them playing in like that 6/4 time or whatever they choose to use for whatever song or section. It's so good. I mean, Danny also used a lot of electronic drums on it too, which are used in a way that not like you wouldn't really think of people using it and using them in that way. And I know he created a lot of those sounds himself too. So his usage of that is incredible. And then his playing on top of it is amazing. The guitar playing is fantastic. I mean, everyone in that band, the way they kind of just, I mean, it's really, technically it's a 3-piece band with a singer, and the way they compose their sections is brilliant. It really is.
It's usually music first. My understanding is the three members come up with all the music, and music is basically done, and then it gets provided to Maynard, who finds some brilliant way of weaving in vocals.
Yeah, I could see it being that way. Just because the parts are so well thought out, you know. A lot of singers they would rather hear something that is already kind of there for them to feed off of, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about the different time signatures. And I remember thinking, so my background is in audio engineering. And I remember when I listened to Tool with all the different changes in time signatures and tempo changes, I remember thinking, man, programming the click track would be a nightmare in the studio, figuring out all that stuff. And when I talked to David Bottrell, he's like, they don't use a click. Like Danny Carey is a human metronome.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough to just not use a click for an easy song, but then to have a 10-minute or 17-minute song that has all these time signatures and tempo changes, and there's no click and everyone's in time, it makes no sense.
Well, they do actually work on these records for like about 3 or 4 years. As you know, if you're a Tool fan, you know they don't come out with a new record every couple of years. They, you know,
some of them, it's like 11 years later, 13 years later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, they put a lot of time into that stuff, and I'm sure certain sections I may, you know, in a rehearsal form, they might use a click just to kind of, you know, get those parts solid into like the next part, and you know, who knows, I don't know. But yeah, that's when I first heard that too, I was blown away. But then again, you're right, programming a click for that would be a nightmare.
That would not be fun. So the album has 4 singles: Stinkfist, H, Aenima, 46 and 2. This is the band's second studio album after Undertow, and sells 3.2 million copies. So this is a massive album.
It's actually third. They had Opiate too.
Opiate. So yeah, they had the EP to start with. So I guess they would say this is the, I guess, second full length is maybe the best way to.
you're correct in saying that. Yes.
Well, we got to make sure it is totally correct. So yeah, the second
Yeah.
full length, it's their third release. And
Yeah.
man, is Danny Carey like the best drummer on the planet? Like this guy is so good. It's unbelievable.
Right now, yeah, for sure.
He's holding the torch.
Yeah, yeah. I think he has actually for a while, but yeah, it's just he's brilliant. He's got to be really a smart guy. I mean, and you watch him play, and he's so focused, and just the way he approaches the drums is just, I'm curious to know. That's who you should interview him. How he approaches things, how he would approach a section, or you know what I mean. That would be real interesting to know that, or to see him do it.
Yeah, it's one thing to be that good playing, but it's also the creativity of what he's creating, right? So it's one thing, like, to be a great drummer that can go and play Neil Peart stuff. That's one thing, but it's to actually be the one like Neil Peart coming up with Neil Peart stuff, or the Danny Carey coming up with that stuff, is just a whole other level.
And Danny Carey would probably tell you Neil Peart and guys like that were his inspirations for what he does. But yeah, as far as for a while, I think he's been probably the best drummer, rock and roll drummer.
Did you see, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Did you see, so the Foo Fighters just announced that Josh Freese will be their drummer, at least live. They haven't, I don't know that they've said he's their drummer moving forward full time, but did you see the reveal at all? It was really funny
when they were like in a circle. Okay, so my guitar player just sent that to me today, so I wasn't able to watch it, but we were talking about it. But I can't stop that. The first single, I love it. I can't stop listening to it. I mean, it's great. And I know Dave's playing drums on it too. It sounds like Dave, and yeah, it's good stuff. Great. I mean, I'm a big Foo Fighters fan. So
yeah. So I think the new Foo Fighters album comes out next week, if I'm not mistaken. And so they did a reveal online that Josh Freese was going to be their new drummer, and it was so well done. So it's funny. So you see all the band members except the drummer, you see them at a jam and they're talking, and it says, the big reveal of their new drummer. So everyone's expecting to see who it is. And then suddenly there's a knock at the studio door, and the door opens, and it's Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers, and he's holding drumsticks. And you're like, holy shit, Chad Smith is going to play for Foo Fighters. And he just says like, someone's car is blocking me in the parking lot. If someone can move it. Oh, no problem. Thanks, Chad. And he leaves. And you're like, oh, what? And then after that, the door knocks again, and Danny Carey from Tool comes in with his drumsticks. You're like, holy shit, Danny Carey's playing for the Foo Fighters. That's why I'm bringing it up. And he's like, he's like, oh guys, I got the food that we ordered. It's ready. And they're like, yeah, we'll see you. We'll come out in a second. And you're like, oh, it's not Danny Carey. And then Tommy Lee from Motley Crue comes in with his sticks and says something. Yeah. And then eventually the camera pans and Josh Freese is there. And he's like, are we going to start practicing or what? And then they kick into it. And that was the reveal. So there was some tool involvement, which is why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The only one of those drummers that would probably be close to what Taylor, like stylistically, I'm speaking, would be Chad. So
yeah,
yeah. So, but Josh Freese is a good call. I actually heard Matt Cameron was going to do it at first
from Pearl Jam and Soundgarden.
Yeah, and sorry, this is off the Tool topic for a moment.
Oh, it's all good.
But I was like, great drummer. I just don't see him with Foo Fighters. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. But that's pretty much it. But I know Josh is going to kill it.
Yeah, I've been hearing from the start that Josh Freese was most likely going to be the guy for the job, and he is, and it looks like everyone is happy with that decision. Like Josh just has, you know, the Perfect Circle stuff and the 9 Inch Nails stuff, and he's on all these albums. You had no idea it was him playing.
I know, right? Yeah. So he does have tons of experience as far as, and he can adapt really well to it, it seems. So, yeah, I think he's going to be great. I think it's a good fit.
So we'll dive back into the Tool album. So
right.
this got nominated for 2 Grammys, so Best Metal Performance, and then the album, they always have amazing album artwork. It was nominated because of the album artwork. So they won for the track Aenima. So that was the first Grammy that they won. That got Bottrell one of his 3 Grammys as well, which is awesome. And
well deserved.
What's that? Well deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah. He not only, you know, produced it, but he also mixed it. So that's this, you know, it's 2 different things, and both of them, you know, you produce to get the right songs and the right takes and all that, and then to mix it for it to sound incredible is 2 different things. So it's
correct. Yeah, well, he deserves it for sure.
Absolutely. So the first song, so Stinkfist, what's funny is that's the first single, and because Stinkfist, the title is, you know, it's a little offensive, that that was a top 20 song on the alternative rock charts on Billboard, and they would not put Stinkfist. They would put track number 1. So as a hit single, it was just known as track number 1, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah. And you know, you don't, Tool is like Zeppelin. It's like with their song titles, it's like you're like, yeah, I don't, they'll never say it in the song sometimes. So it's like, you know, they just come up with these oddball names at times. So not every song on this one, or on this particular record, but man, there's
46 and 2. I find that shows up on the list of, you know, greatest drum performances of all time. Do you have any thoughts as a drummer on 46 and 2?
Yeah, I know, and where he places it too in the middle of the song.
It sounds like he's on a different. Yeah, so later on in the song, or halfway through towards the end, it's like he comes in and it's like he is on his own thing and the rest of the band is on something else, and eventually it lines up again.
It does. And well, they build into that bridge section right there on 46 and 2, right, that within the drum solo. So like, just if you listen to that drum solo and how he builds and going into that bridge section, next section right there, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty brilliant, really.
Do you have any thoughts on the Tool is known for having the instrumental segue tracks. So there's 6 segue tracks on that album. Do you have any thoughts on those? So I've heard different reasons for why they have them. Any thoughts when you hear them on the album, why they're there, or if they do anything for you? Or
they don't really do much for me. I want to hear the song, you know, get down to some playing here. So no, I don't really know too much about those things. A lot of times I would just skip right over them just to get to the next song.
Yeah, I've heard a few of the reasons are one, as like a palate cleanser, to kind of, you know, the songs are so different that you need a palate cleanser in between, or the songs are in like different keys and they don't flow well one into the next, so they add this that's kind of has it segue better between 2 songs. I've heard it's to evoke a certain emotion or feeling. So it's like, it's not really music, but it's the certain sounds put you in a certain space, which maybe prepares you for the next song. I've heard all these different things, and you never know what's true.
Yeah, you know, the one with the record, like it sounds like it's going backwards. That one right there also can kind of grate on your nerves after a while too. So maybe that has a meaning behind it, where it's trying to build tension for, you know what I mean? So I understand what they're doing. I just personally, it's not really my thing. That's all. but I get what they're doing. I mean, they think way outside the box for sure.
Yeah, I have a confession. So I use Spotify all the time, and I have all these playlists. And for Aenima, for Lateralis, and for Fear Inoculum, those three albums, I actually made playlists where it's those three albums minus all the instrumental tracks. So instead of having Aenima with, I don't know, 14 tracks or 16, it's just the like 9 or 10 songs on it. So I've actually, to get, like you said, give me the goods, get right to the songs. I've actually made playlists like that to skip, because they're the albums are pushing the full CD. You can have 80 minutes, and all their albums are like 79 minutes and 20 seconds. So
yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, if you notice, like after a hooker with a penis, there is 3 of them in a row that are kind of like that. I mean, they're all different, but yeah, they decided to do that.
Yeah. Well, in your opinion, the songs are so good, you just want to get to the songs, which is,
yeah, they are, so yeah.
Cool. So I have a few lists that the album shows up on for the greatest of all time, and then we'll dive into your final album here as we wrap up. So Aenima is ranked the 6th most influential album of all time by Kerrang. Rolling Stone had it at number 18 on the greatest metal albums of all time, number 14 on Guitar World's readers poll to find the best 100 guitar albums. It's been voted the 3rd greatest drumming album in history by Rhythm Magazine. Entertainment Weekly had it. They said one of 1996 strangest and strongest alt metal records. And the last one is USA Today wrote that Tool moves to the front of the alternative metal shop on its 3rd and best release. So that's what I've got for Tool Aenima.
Oh, right there. They're dead on.